Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Hodge. I'm a senior consultant with Total Care, and this month of April, I'm doing a financial series. Today, I'll be talking about how to do prepayments on open sales orders and how to do prepayments on your open purchase orders. And I'm going to go into a little bit more depth than I did last time on this topic last year because I've got a lot of questions recently about what do I do if the customer pays me more and then they would cancel something on the order, the entire order. How do I refund it? How do I handle perform invoices because the tax doesn't transfer? So some of these little issues that have come up over the last year, I've developed some best business practices to help support this process. Okay, so we'll start with, everyone can see my screen. If you have trouble hearing me, just type in a question in the question box. I'll be able to see that. And I'll try to keep glancing over at the question box so we can answer them while we're doing this together. And if need be, we'll unmute you so that the entire audience can hear your question. So, okay. So for those who have not seen this functionality, in the past, sometimes you wanted to, we'll start with sales orders, we'll do purchase orders at the end. Sometimes you would want to be able to take a payment in advance. And before this functionality came to be available a couple years ago, the only way to do that would be to take an incoming payment, as you can see here, for the customer and put it on account. And then it would show up in your receivables as a credit, and you'd have to remember when the sales order turns into an invoice, you'd have to go manually apply that payment to that open invoice. With this process, we don't have to do it. Well, I'll show you. It's very slick because the old method that I was just talking about, you would be diluting your receivables. So you'd be driving your receivable asset down by having all these credits. What SAP does when we take a customer payment on an open sales order is it doesn't push it into the receivables. Well, it does for 1 second. I'll show you the accounting transaction. But it really holds it in a liability account, which is perfect. It makes our balance sheet look healthier and cleaner. And as soon as that money is applied to the AP, the AR invoice, that money is moved out of that liability account and pays off when the invoice is generated, which is awful nice because now our invoice can actually say balance due if there's some balance. And you can print that and send it right away without having to, again, go in and manually apply the payment on account to that invoice and then print the invoice. So there's a couple of pieces you have to set up here. In your chart of accounts, you should create 2 new accounts. And so the first one, here I have my current liabilities. I call customer deposits on sales orders. And I don't ever manually post into this account. This account is only used by SAP with this process that I'll show you. And the same thing for your prepayments on purchase orders. Here we go. It's a asset account. Again, some people like to use this prepaid expenses account, but if you do that, that's a blended account. This account could be used for other things. I like to separate it because if I do that, I'll show you at the end of the month, you'll be able to reconcile this account to your open documents report. So you'll be able to know what money is in there and who it belongs to. If you blend it into this, then of course that reconciliation process becomes a lot harder because you have not everything will be listed together. So those are the 2 accounts. What you'll want to do after you set them up is also add them to your general ledger determination setup so that your new customers or vendors records you create will inherit that code. And that's here under Setup, Financials, GL Determination. On the Sales tab, it's called Payment Advances. So that would be our liability account. Customer deposits. And on our Purchasing tab, Payment Advances, that would be our prepayments. Now realize when you add these, they don't automatically go back and fill out existing business partner records. Only new business partner records you create will inherit these correctly. So you'll also, if you decide to implement this, you also have to go back into your business partner master records, and you can either do this with the DTW or manually. Go to your accounting tab, and for all of your customer types, you'll add this to the payment advances field here. And for all of your vendor types, you add this asset account. That's really all you have to do to have this process work. Once the setup is done, you're ready to go. So let's cut a sales order. Now, I'm going to show you two ways to show you two methods. So the first method is you're not taking the money right now. The customers ask for an invoice for the down payment. Say that you want 50% down in order to take this order. And they're not paying you right now. They want the invoice. So the first way that you would do that, and I also want to put some freight on here so I can show you this other little process here. So here's the first way. I want now to send them an invoice. So I want to send an invoice to them, but I don't want it to hit sales. It has to, basically, it's going to hit that customer deposit account, and then the other side will go to AR. So I'm going to say copy to down payment. Now the first thing that we notice here that SAP has not fixed yet is when I copy this to a down payment invoice, only the value of the items come through, not my freight and not my tax. Well, they should, but they don't in this version, and hopefully they will fix that or add that functionality. So if you did want to, let's say we were going to have them prepay the entire thing, in order to get that value in here, I've created some non-inventory items called SO freight, SO tax, those two. And then I can come in here and I can see that my freight was 5 and my tax was 684. And so now I can ask for the full amount. If you wanted to ask for half of that, you could change this 100, say to 50, and then we'd be asking for half of it. I'm going to ask for the whole thing. Now I want to show you this item set up. It's a sales only item. It's set to item level and standard. It's not going to make any posting. If we look at the journal preview, what you're going to see is nothing's going to sales, nothing's going to inventory. It's simply taking that full amount and putting a AR invoice on the customer's account for them to pay in the future, and sending the other side to our liability account. So even though these have item codes, if this was a standard invoice, of course, you'd be hitting the revenue accounts and that were set up for these items. But when you're using a down payment invoice, it bypasses that. So I'm going to add this. Okay, and then you can print that invoice out and send it to them. So here's a sample invoice. Now when the customer pays that invoice, you pay it just as a normal process here, going to our incoming payments, incoming payment. Here it is. 125.84. Yeah, BT type. So I'll take that payment just as normal. Paid by check. And add it. Okay. So now, when this sales order is converted to a delivery, the amount is not applied here yet. This is just normal delivery ticket. And when that delivery ticket is copied into the AR invoice, you can see here automatically that related down payment comes in and he has a balance of 0. If for some reason you wanted, maybe you were shipping half the order and you wanted to take half of the deposit, you can choose to take a lower amount than the full amount of the deposit. Of course, in this case, he's paying the whole thing off, so we'll take the full amount, but you can change it. So if you had a $5,000 deposit on a $5,000 order and you're only shipping half the stuff, you can choose to apply $2,500 worth at that time and save the rest for a future invoice. And again, with our standard print layout, you're going to see the down payment listed, total due 0. Okay, so that is one way. Now, a more common way to do this, and a little bit easier, is if you're taking the sales order and you're taking, for example, a credit card payment right at the same time you're taking the sales order, you don't have to use that copy to down payment. You can do it right on the sales order, and it will create that down payment invoice in the background and create the incoming payment for you in the background. So, come here to Norm again. So I'm in, I haven't even added it. I can either come into an existing order and add it here. And when they call with the payment, I can hit the little payment means, the same button you hit when you're doing an incoming payment, except now it's called deposit on order. And we'll do it for the full amount. So it tells you it's linked to a down payment. It actually went in and it created a down payment for you and the payment. So if we come in here and look and go back, here's this new one that was created for us automatically just by clicking on the payment means, and the payment was also done. Directly with that check. So you save all that headache and worry, and all of that is now sitting in that liability account, and the same process would go through. Now, I want to show you one more thing here. Questions came to me. Well, what if a customer, he has paid, and this is paid in full, and also I want to show you, if I right-click and say related down payment transactions, I can see the invoice and the payment here. And you can take as many down payments. If you wanted to take half up front and then half before you ship, you can go into the sales order more than one time and take payments at different points in time. And all of those would be listed here on your related down payments. Okay. So what I'd like to show you now is what if he has paid everything in full, but he cancels a couple of items. So we'll come in here and we will I'm going to say close row. I could say delete, but I want to have a record of it. But he's just closing that here. Let me just check. So he paid me $755.25, but right now, oops, I need to pay me $755.25, right? But I'm only going to deliver these two. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this straight to an invoice. So I guess you can't close it, you have to delete. So I'm going to, instead I will, let's see, hit update. Okay, I'll get rid of this row. So let's say he doesn't want this item anymore. Okay, and so copy it to an invoice. And the total down payment we can see is $755.25, but the system is only taking what it needs to fulfill this invoice. So I'm going to go ahead and add it. Okay, so now if we look at our open AR down payments, we have this row. We took $755.25. There's 119 left, but we want to give him back that money. So the way we can refund them is I've created a new item code called SO Refund. And what you do is you just go to your AR invoice. You use this item. Because SAP requires us to have an item code, we're not going to put any dollar value in it. I'm going to call it deposit refund. And you just leave the rest blank, no value. And you come in here to your down payment and you find the one that you want to refund. And for some reason, if you could do this prior to that other AV invoice being processed, if you still had the $755 but you knew you want to give them back $119.25 right now, you can do it right now. So I'm going to pick this full amount here. And in this case, he paid by check, so we're going to refund him by check, and I'll do another one in a moment and show you we'll refund by credit card. So here I have the 119. It's a negative dollar amount on an invoice. If we look at the journal posting, you'll see that basically it's going to take it out of that customer deposit, and it's going to push it onto the AR account. Okay. 1 second, I see a question. I'll get to that in just 1 second. So if I go look at that customer's account, he now has a credit for that 119. I'll get to your question just 1 second. And there it is. And then I'm going to go cut him a check. So I'm going to go to my outgoing payments. I'm going to switch it to customer for Norm there. $119, pay by check. So I'm cutting him an AP check here. And add. And now that is paid off, and I can go print my AP check and send it to him for the refund. Now I have three questions here. The first one is from Dennis. In the refund process, it seems that we would use a credit memo, not an AP. Now, so why would we not use a credit memo? So the trick is that 119 was showing up here in our down payments, and the only way I can have the system move that 119 out of customer deposits and apply it to an invoice so it doesn't keep showing as outstanding is to use an AR invoice. And so even though you're giving a refund, you still have to apply that down payment, that unused down payment, to an AR invoice. And so SAP allows us to do that, and it will create a negative dollar amount here just by using this invoice. This is the trick. You have to apply it here. You couldn't do that through a credit memo. You would do it through a credit memo if for some reason you were, if you had misapplied or done, you just can't use it as a credit memo. It has to be this invoice. So it has to be this process, and then you can refund it. Now, let me show you, let me go to the next question from by Dale. Is it possible to apply the balance left in the down payment to another sales order? Yeah. So just, you can't link it to the other sales order. But if Norm did not want that 119 back and said, well, just go use it on sales order 123, what you would have to do is put a note in the sales order that you want, that he has a down payment, and when that sales order turned into an invoice, you'll see it. So just to do one together here, let's see if I have another Norm. Okay, so here's another one from Norm. We'll take a payment. This one I want to do by credit cards to show you something different here. Okay, so I'm going to pay by credit card. Oops. Okay, update. Oh, date. Oh, this is an old sales order. Let's do a new sales order. So, Norm. Delivery date. Okay, so there we have our down payment, and he cancels one of the items. I'll copy just an invoice. Just takes that full amount. Okay, so now Norm has outstanding. If we go look at our down payments here, he has this $39 left over. So what you would have to do is, let's go into a sales order for, so let's say he has another sales order here. This my one's already created. Okay. See, because that money is, that $19 doesn't show up here because it wasn't linked to that sales order, and there is no way to link it to the sales order, but you can manually come out here and say, oh, well, here's $39 I still have from a different sales order and apply it to this invoice. So yes, you can take the leftover if he wants to keep it as an open deposit, and you can manually apply it to any invoice that you'd like. Okay. And then Stacy says, can we see the item master for the deposit item? Yes. So how is the item master set up? So I have a control group called AR control items from all my fees and refunds in different ways. The general ledger accounting is not important in this case because, and you can see here it has to be a sales only item, because we're never putting a dollar value, Stacy, on that row. We're just simply using it as a placeholder so that we can process that AR invoice and then apply the down payment that we want to refund. Okay. So I wanted to show you a couple other things here. Let's see who else. I want to show you how you can refund the credit card directly on the AR invoice. So let's see. This one has been applied. Okay, so there's a full amount here. Oh, that's a single item. Let's create a new one. Show you this one more, refund with a credit card. Change this to basic. Add it. Okay. So now again, I want to let me just check. It said one of those was out of stock, so that's the one I'll delete. Nope. Okay. I guess not. All right. So we'll take out this item for $1. Copy the rest of this to an invoice. So leave us $1 left over to credit back to him. And in this case, it's on credit card. So before we had to post the invoice for the -119 and then we did a manual check. You can also, if it's a credit card, record the payment right on the invoice itself and not have to do that secondary payment. We've got $1.06 here. And instead of just posting it now, I can hit my money bag here and say I'm going to give it back to him on his credit card. And add it. And you're completely done. So now it's completely off his record. All right, so are there any questions on that? I don't see any new questions. So let's talk about how you reconcile it at the end of the month real quick. So I have my AR down payments. I have, let me show you from here. If you don't have this open document set up in your dashboard, you can come here to open items and you can see the same thing. So we have AR down payments unpaid. So that is, for example, that perform invoice that we sent out. We don't have any unpaid. So if we did, we would have a dollar value. You'd add that value to this value. So we've got 1908. And if you look at your chart of accounts and customer deposits, you can see here that you're in balance. So hopefully that helps you. One last thing on a correction. If you misapply an amount or you want to change the amount, maybe you applied all of it and you only want to apply 50% of it, you can do that too. And this is really tricky. So this is closed, right? Because I posted this and here's this amount. And maybe I didn't want to use all of that for this for some reason. the way, or I applied, for some reason I manually applied the wrong one if I was doing that manual one that was shown from Vidalia. When there's a down payment, there's a new option in your AR invoice. If you right-click, you have this new change document status to open. This is only going to show whenever you're in an invoice with a down payment attached. And so you can now change that to open and then refresh the invoice. Now this, Dennis, may make more sense to you. So now I want to refund all of this. I can now, since it's open, copy this to a credit memo. And you have two options here. If you want to leave the down payment for something else, and you don't want to refund him the down payment, then you would come in here to your total down payment and you untick this so that amount is not included in the credit memo, and it would still just stay as an open, unused down payment. If you wanted to pay him back, then the whole piece can go to the credit memo, and when we add this, it has credited that customer's account, and we can see here's that 531 again. Okay. So that's pretty much all the corrections. Is there any questions? I don't see any new ones. So what time is it? It's 2:08 here. So I'm just going to spend a couple moments. This next section is very easy. So this is prepayments on purchase orders. It's pretty extremely easy because we're not doing things like refunds and all that stuff. We simply just, a customer or a vendor wants a prepayment on a purchase order. You simply cut the PO. So you issue that PO, the vendor says, can you please prepay this order? You simply go back in the purchase order, just like you did the sales order. You hit your little money bag here, and we say, let's say I'm going to ACH it to him, so I'm going to do a bank transfer and wire him the money. And you're linked to a down payment, just like in the sales order. You can still see it here. And just like in the sales order, when you finally get to the AP invoice, that amount is automatically applied to the invoice so that you don't have any open payables, just like regular. Okay. So any questions on how to cut a check or a bank transfer or a credit card payment on a purchase order? All right. I don't see any. Is it possible to apply a credit that a customer has on account to a sales order as a down payment? In our system, if a customer has terms as payment before shipping, the order does not get released until the down payment is created. So, so can you take an open value credit sitting on his account for some credit memo or some other refund that you did him in the past, and can you mark it as a down payment on that sales order? No. Because you have to create the payment from the open sales order. You have to record that money bag when you're in the open sales order, and that money is already sitting on his account. So, I mean, if you wanted to manually apply it, I guess you could do some workarounds. You might say, okay, well, this guy's got a $30 credit on his account, and what I'll do is I'll go here to, I'll create an account like, I don't know, deposit clearing or something, and I'll go into my outgoing payments and do a bank transfer where I'm saying I want to move that $30 credit off of AR and push it to this clearing account, and then you could do a payment on the sales order bank transfer type also using that same clearing account, and that would take it out of that account and then move it over to the customer deposit. And if you'd like me to demonstrate that for you, just send me an email and for support to vision-33.com and request my name in the header, and I will show you how to set that up and process that kind of movement if you'd like. And we have a new question. When entering AP deposits, do I do it through AR down payments? Is that the same as what you showed? Well, AP down payments, right? Yeah. The reason in purchasing, if I'm going to, I would never create an AP down payment, because all that's creating is a payable for me to pay. So I know I'm going to pay it. Unlike in the case of an AR down payment where the customer is saying, I want to perform an invoice, and you then want to ship him that invoice and then wait for the payment, it's really redundant for you to do an AP down payment unless you want it somehow included in the next check run. I think the easier thing, because then you'd have to create the down payment, copy it from PO to a down payment, and then you'd have to go into your payment wizard and process the payment. Why not just simply, when you get approval to make the payment, go into the purchase order and say money back? And it does all those AR down payments, AP down payments for you. It seems like the other way would not be useful. Do you need more information on that? Let me just unmute you, because I'm not sure why you would want to do that. So that's Kelly. Okay, Kelly, you're unmuted. So why would you want to use an AP down payment document? Do you have a process that you are trying to work through? When paying, so you're off mute if you want to speak, but if you can't speak, she has no sound. Okay, so when paying codes, I don't completely understand if, oh, CODs, okay, CODs. So when paying CODs, if you have an open PO and now you're receiving it and you want to pay for the COD, why wouldn't you just open the purchase order and cut the check right to the UPS COD person right from there? You certainly could open the purchase order and say copy to AP invoice and then go into your check processing and do an outgoing payment, but it would all be done for you in one step by hitting the money bag. So Kelly, if you have more issues about that, or if you want to work through the process, just send a message to support@vision-33.com. Put my name in the header that you'd like to review the process, and we can go through it together. Okay, I have a couple more questions. How would you process an ACH payment? So for Corinne, so an ACH payment on the PO is just what we did before. So we'll do another one. So here I was open PO, and so you go through, you maybe go to your bank website, you do the wire transfer, you get the confirmation code, and now you want to record that payment. You open the PO, stick your money bag, go to bank transfer, transfer date, the reference, maybe the reference code you got from on the website when you did the ACH payment, and the amount. Okay, an update. Of course, that makes the payment directly out of our checking account and records it on the PO, and then it's available for you on your AP invoice when the down payment's there. So, Corinne, does that answer your question? All right. I believe it does. So let's see. Sam, assuming a customer is also a vendor, can an open AP down deposit be applied to an AR invoice? No. So again, remember, an AP down payment, when let's see, let me make sure I got this right. So he has an AP, he's a customer and a vendor. Can an open AP down payment, so I prepaid on a purchase order, can I move that to the AR? No, Sam, you'd have to do like that clearing piece again, because remember, when I did the down payment, if we look at the journal entry created by the last one we just did, it moved it to prepayments on purchase orders. Well, I have to get it out of there. So again, I can't then take that money and push it over to a sales order, because I have to go to the sales order and apply it there, and it's not going to show as an open AR down payment. So you'd probably have to would have to work with you on that to figure out a methodology to move from an AP down payment to an AR down payment. It would have to take a couple of steps to do that. So Kelly asked one other question. When do you use the AP down payment option? I never use it. I guess because I'm always in my accounting office, I'm just cutting the check off the PO. I guess maybe if you were a big house, big accounting department, and you had to have your boss approve all AP before it could be cut. You can't just cut a one-off check off the PO. You could then copy to an AP down payment and then let it go through the normal process of your next check run and run it that way. But that would probably be the only reason I would use the AP down payment option. Okay, well, very good session. I hope this was helpful to you. If you want more information on how to create those items, or you want to know how to work through a process like we've talked about a couple here, how can I move money from one to the other, how can I apply a credit on the customer's account to a sales order, that would be a couple of steps, but we could work through the process together, and I could show you how to do that. Again, just send us an email, support@vision-33.com, put my name and my college in the header, and along with the request, and they'll route it to me. Okay, we have 2 more financial series this month. I just want to make mention of those, and we'll close the meeting. So next week, I am doing AP expense items, and what those are, if you've not attended that meeting before, is instead of having to use a service invoice, you can pre-set up items for purchasing that are not inventory items, and they're pre-classed to all of your expense. So you can create rent items and office supply items and different items that allow you to put them on POs and process them directly through AP. It's a great way if you have an AP clerk that she doesn't always know which general ledger accounts to hit. By creating these items up for them, you can just simply say, well, I know this is the phone bill, so I just have a phone bill item, and it's already pre-classed and set to the right AP expense account for phone bills. So we're going to go through that process, how to set them up and use them next week on the 17th. And then on Wednesday, the 24th, I'm going to do a new one that I haven't done before, but I've been getting a lot of questions about it, production order accounting. So we're going to go through how the production order accounting transactions happen all the way through the closing and the variance. And we'll also be doing non-inventory items like outside services and labor. So if you do production orders now and you don't you have some outside services that you want to include in the cost of the father item you're making, or you want to drive a standard labor cost into there so you're getting a more accurate cost of goods, I'm going to show you how to set those up and run production through. We'll be looking at all the variances. We'll be looking how to process labor and outside service values, outside service dollars done into the production order, and that will be on the 24th. All right. Well, everyone, if there's no more questions, I thank you for your attention. I hope this was helpful. And again, if you need any help with this, just let me know, and we'll work through it together. Thank you, and have a good day.